Welcome to the library session about library resources to faculty. My purposes today are to relate to you not necessarily as teachers, but as scholars in your fields, to remind you of the things that are freely available that will help you, to use library resources, and also to stay up to date in your fields, and to introduce you to things that the library could provide if you were interested in them. So I'm going to start out with things that we currently do or have. One of those things is interlibrary loan. It's not used very much, but it's a really powerful tool if you're doing, your own research or your own project. Also for your students too, we have had students use it. I know most recently we were able to get a thesis for Mike Nagel from a school in Washington State, and they got that for us really, really quickly. They actually scanned it and then sent it to us. So a lot of times, especially with articles, the turnaround time is really quick. And with books, even, it doesn't take very long. So that's always available, and we have access to all of the world's libraries that are connected to WorldCat, so it's not just within the state of Michigan. So that's a really vast resource that we can use. The other thing that we do for the faculty is buy materials to support the curriculum, and I'm not sure if anyone would be interested in having more communication about this. So like if I was to send out an email regularly about things that we're adding to the collection that are in your disciplines, because we have some really cool stuff that you may not even know that we have that are within your discipline. So I want you to know that I'm still doing that, and I'm still trying to keep up to date on, the vast array of areas that you teach in. Another thing we have that's fairly new is the Faculty Innovation Collection, and this actually came from Lisa Stick having a whole bunch of, her own private library of teaching resources and books about teaching and learning, and I can show you the quick list. And these are available, they're right up in the front of the library for you to check out, and we can also add to this, so I'm definitely willing to add books to the collection or other resources to the collection that are about teaching and learning and professional development. So that's what that looks like. The other thing we have is the mobile version of the library catalog. So I don't know how many of you use iPads or Surface Pros or other tablets or even your phones to to send emails per se, or to look for something, even at a public library. But we do, our library catalog is mobile, so if I shrink the screen here, you can see that it shrinks down to approximately the size of a cell phone. It's a responsive theme, so you can use it just like you would a mobile site, and that's the full version of the library catalog available on your phone. We also have a mobile app for our main resource provider, which is EBSCO. So you can download the mobile app and then use the databases on your phone. And then these other things are things that I wanted to tell you about that have to do with staying up to date in your fields. So I know that at a lot of bigger or more professional libraries, they would have a whole squadron of librarians available to keep you up to date in your field. You would have a liaison librarian, a subject specialist, and they would send you journal alerts or tell you what new books they were buying in your field, help you stay up to date. And so these are some of the scaled down ways that you can do that using RSS feeds, news alerts, and journal alerts. So I'm just going to show you an example of an RSS feed reader. I don't know if anyone already uses one of these, but this is called Feedly, and it's really simple. You just find something that you would normally be interested in, and let's see if I can add content. So I'm going to search for library, and these are all the different RSS feeds that are available about the topic that I searched, and then I just say add. I'm going to add it to my collection, and then it's in my collection over here, and then I can go in and read all of the different news articles or blog posts from the RSS feeds that I've chosen, and that's what that looks like. Or you can go through one-on-one or one by one and look at these. So I don't know what you guys do on your lunch hour, but this is a lot of the time what I end up doing on my lunch hour is reading through my RSS feed full of really dorky librarian stuff. So that's one way to keep up to date in your field, is find things like RSS feeds that will like constantly be giving you new information and new ideas about things you're interested in. You can also do, I don't know if you've set up a news alert, but you can do one even through like the Chronicle. Like I get the community college newsletter from the Chronicle. You know, it's another way of sharing information that, you know, is easier to keep up with than having to remember to go out to their website. The other thing you could do is set up a Google News alert. So what I would do is search in news.google.com for something that I was interested in. And then if I go to the bottom here, it'll say create alert. And then I can create an alert, like how often I want them to send it. If I only want them to look in a certain region, the sources I want them to use. And then I just say create alert. And then you get an email, different news articles that are coming up with your topic. So that's another way that you can stay up to date without really having to try very hard, because I know that that can be tough. The other thing, if there's a journal that you like a lot, you can set up a journal alert in EBSCO. So this is EBSCO. So I just went right out to our EBSCO site, and then if I want to do community college library. Okay, so I did my search in the database, and then if I go over here to share, I can say create an alert. So I could create an RSS feed off of this or an email alert. So how often do I want to have it? Articles published within the last, and then I can save these things and then get an email every time. You know, you can narrow it down to a specific journal. So every time a new issue of the journal comes out, you can get an alert. So if there's something you're interested in or something that you want to keep up with, this is an easy way to do it. So those are things that are available right now that you can do. And I'm more than happy to sit down with anyone and like walk you through how to set those things up if I went through that too fast too. Or if you have other questions or ideas that you want to share with each other about ways that you stay up to date in your fields too. Okay, so now these are some ideas of things that we could do or that we could acquire. And a lot of these are subscriptions or products. So one of those things is Google Scholar integration. So I don't know if you guys have used Google Scholar a lot. I know I've shown it to a lot of your classes. One of the difficult things is that when you search for something, a lot of the times it'll come up with an article that you have to pay for. And one way of getting around that is by hooking up library resources in Google Scholar. So it would take a little bit of work on my part, but if you find that your students are using Google Scholar a lot, and they would be more comfortable with that, and you would be more comfortable with that than using the database interface, this is something that actually brings library resources into Google Scholar, which is really cool. So we would just have like a link where it would say My Library, and then library resources would show up in the Google Scholar search results. So let me know if that's something that you think you're interested in. Another thing we could do is offer more databases, especially including open access. So there's a ton of open access information out there, like open access journals and ebooks and all of that. And if that's something that you think would be good, especially in a particular field that you're in, I can find new ways to go through and integrate, open access in with our databases, or even, point the students to some of these open access resources. So those are out there. Those are available if you're interested in those. Another way to bring all of these resources together is through something called the discovery layer. So what this does is it brings together your book resources with your databases. And I'll show you an example from Central. Okay, so see when I did my search here, it's showing available in the library. And it's showing the material type, so newspaper articles, reviews. So like if I said articles, it's going to find things that are available in resources that they've linked up in databases. This will say, okay, this article is available in, the EBSCOhost database. So that's one way that we could integrate our books and audiobooks and ebooks in with our database results and have it all be integrated. It's fairly new. I'm not sure that a lot of community colleges have discovery layers yet, but it's definitely gaining traction. And our new library catalog is just starting to be able to handle having a discovery layer. So if that's something you think would be cool, that's something that the library could develop or work into. There's other material out there and other ways to get that material. So one of those examples is called Browsine. This is for if you want to get like magazine or journal articles on your iPad or Android tablet. And I haven't done a ton of work with this because it's mostly like their audience is really specific. So it's mostly if you have a journal that you want to read continually and get it on your iPad or your Android tablet. It doesn't search really well, so it's not like you know your topic and you're going out to search. It's more like, oh, there's a new issue of, college and research libraries that I want to read. And then you get that immediately on your tablet as soon as it comes out. It'll also integrate with open access material too, so let me know if you're interested in that. That's something that we could even set up a demo of. The other thing that's similar is called Zinio. I don't know if you've seen this at your public library, but this is a similar idea, but for like popular magazines. So it's a way to get popular magazine articles on your tablet without having to have a subscription to an individual magazine. And this is available, I think Mason County Library has this, if you ever wanted to see an example of it. But that's something that we could also have if you really wanted to use magazines a lot. Another good piece of technology for making things available on tablets is called Overdrive. And this is something that the public library also has, but that we could also get like an academic version. And it's not used a ton in academic libraries, but it is available for them. So this is ebooks, audiobooks, available on tablets, and it works with the Kindle, which our current ebooks do not. And a lot of it would be fiction, but then we could also have nonfiction and audiobook. And I think they're just starting to get into streaming video too. So that's another thing that we could do, especially if it's like certain topics that you're interested in or something that you think would be worthwhile for you or for your students. So that's Overdrive. Another thing that we have available is streaming video. And there are several different versions of this. One of them is nonfiction. So Alexander Street Press is one of the nonfiction vendors. So this is like where we would subscribe to a package and we would get the ability to put video clips or whole videos right into your Canvas shell. And all of the students could then watch it. So like for online classes, this would be awesome. And they have a ton of different videos and a ton of different topics. I haven't really worked with them yet, but if this is something you're interested in, I'd be more than happy to talk to the vendor. So that's nonfiction. We can also do that for fiction videos. So like I know I talked a little bit with Matt Sanderson about doing this for some of his philosophy videos, that they have, like actual films available that we could get the rights to and then put in Canvas and embed it right in Canvas. Which is really cool. So that's another thing that we could definitely look into. Another thing that some community college libraries have is citation management software. I don't know if you guys have worked with something like RefWorks before or Noodle Tools. So this is an example of Noodle Tools, which I know Kirtland uses. And it's just a way for students to it has like a citation maker, so they put in the information and then it pops out the citation. But it can also help them to organize their resources too, and even, help you organize your resources, not just students. So this is another thing that we could make available if people were interested in it. And then LibGuides. I don't know if you've ever seen LibGuides before. It's sort of a way to arrange things by subject and this is something that I'd like to at least think about doing in Canvas too, is have a subject guide available so that you're bringing together like all websites, databases, books, ebooks, all these different things on a topic for the students to use, and it's, you know, you have your contact information, so it's really easy for people to get in touch with you. From a library standpoint, I think it would be awesome to develop some of these, and LibGuides is one of the ways to do that. I'm sure there are other uses for it too that we could come up with. So this is another vendor product that we could get. And then I think we've talked about it a little bit, but having things like e-readers, laptops, other devices available for checkout in the library. And that's something that I'm definitely willing to revisit, especially as we sort of continue thinking about what does it mean to be a BYOD campus. You know, what are we doing with our computer labs, that sort of thing. We're starting to have those conversations, and I hope that the library can be a part of those conversations. Okay, so these are things that are a little bit more in-depth and a little bit more like service-oriented about the library that I wanted to see if you were interested in. One of those things would be hosting activities or events, like a Friday at the Fix session, for example, except we would have to call it something different. You know, like having a lecture in the library, having a speaker, a book club, you know, doing different things with the space, because I think it is a really variable space. There's a lot of uses that it could be put to. Another thing I think that would be cool is if we had a collection of professors' works, and, you know, that's something that I can definitely develop, is every time a professor publishes something, that I make sure that we have a copy of it. Not only that we have a copy, which I kind of already do, but that we have a copy that's set aside in a special display area so that we can, you know, keep track of those things and make sure that they're prominently displayed. And that sort of goes into the institutional repository idea. So the idea that, okay, every time a professor would present at a conference or publish a paper, that we would have a repository of those items, those things, and that digital repository or institutional repository would really be amazing to have for faculty and for student work. So these are some examples of what that looks like. So you'll see this is broken down by department, or we can search. And these are different collections. So like for this one, the music department has an honors program. And the music faculty did these things. You know, so publications. It doesn't have to be like a publication either. It could be artwork. It could be a recording of something that they presented, or a recording of a performance. It could be data sets too. That's another thing that institutional repositories sometimes keep. That's one example, and then I think I had another one. Yeah, so this is using that same format, probably the same software. And this is all the different work that has been added to that. So this is something that the library could help develop and that we could have available for faculty and for student work, because we have awesome students and they do awesome work. So that's something that I think would be really, really interesting and something we could think about. Another thing I've been really interested in doing is having a strong Canvas presence. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. Right now, what we have, and I haven't set this up yet with Wade, but in the Student Commons, we have a page with library links on it, and this is really all it is. But I could imagine having this this page in like each of the courses, and then having resources available on this page for that specific course, or like a module that could take the students through a certain lesson in information literacy or library resources, and, you know, put it in Canvas and then share it amongst all the courses, or, you know, amongst specific courses. So there's a lot of things that the library could do with Canvas, of course depending on, you know, what you think would be best for you and for your students, and, you know, the most convenient. So I'm really, you know, trying to develop new ways to use Canvas, because I know, you know, we want to get students at their point of need, and obviously they're using Canvas, so that's where I should be, is in Canvas. Another thing I had thought about was doing a whole course about the library, and working with first year seminars sort of made me think about this more, is what would that look like to have a, you know, a semester course, a 1 or 2 credit course about information literacy. about source evaluation, you know, critical thinking skills, all of those things that we know are so important for our students. What would it look like to have a whole course devoted to that? Something else I've started thinking about lately is having a classroom in the library. And this is from MSU and the different kinds of classes that they have in their library. And these are all like wired differently for different purposes. These are some of the things that their students have access to that I don't know that I would want our classroom to be this like non-standard, but I could totally see having a classroom in the library and then bringing classes into that room so that they're actually taking place in the library. I think it would open up a whole new avenue, would give me a new way to present information literacy to them, and it would definitely help with scheduling classes too and scheduling labs, so that would be really neat. And then another thing that I've started working on recently is the archive. So with the 50th anniversary coming up quickly here, this is something that I'm really starting to think about, trying to bolster our archive and hopefully eventually to make it not only organized and, you know, clear and accessible, but also digital. And this is an example from Kellogg of what their college archive looks like. So they have whole collections that you can browse through. So I'd really love for one day ours to look like this. And if you have ideas of what you would want it to look like or what you think you would use it for, because really, you know, we're setting it up to be used. So if you can think of ways that you would use it for yourself or in a class, I would definitely be willing to talk to you about that. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully I've given you a lot of different ideas about how to stay up to date in your field, how to use library resources differently, and, you know, how to use them as much as you can. Hopefully this can start out new conversations for us, and that, you know, I continue to support the faculty as much as I can and in as many ways as I can. And thank you very much